What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Double D Report. It's me and Dean. We're fucking back. I'm happy to be back. Not a bunch. I'm lying. I'm really lying. Not much is going on in sports, but the stuff that is going on in sports is some heavy fucking hitters. We got March Madness. We got Tokyo Series for baseball. And we have the conclusion of the NFL season. Well, NFL offseason, pretty much, coming to the draft in April. But first of all things we're going to talk about the Tokyo Series. Obviously, it was the Dodgers versus the Cubs. I'm not surprised that the Dodgers were in the game because their team. They're the best team. On paper, they're the best team, and why would they not put them on in that Tokyo Series? But I have one query. One little query. I'm going to read off something that MLB emailed to an anonymous person. Because this is absolutely outrageous. From MLB Morning Lineup. Ohtani, parentheses, of course, homers in Tokyo. I have a question, MLB. What in the dick suck is going on? You had the audacity to put, of course, homering in Tokyo. Now, why are you saying of course? He could have struck out. He could have torn his fucking shoulder. Instead, you say, of course, homers in Tokyo. I know it's a little thing to talk about during the game. It's a little thing. But it just pissed me off. I don't know why. It just pissed me off just seeing the parentheses, of course, homering in the Tokyo Series. Dean, please talk to help me out on this.
Look, man, this was a glorified Japanese game, right? That's the only reason why the MLB had these two teams in it. Combined, they have 5 very high-profile Japanese players, obviously being headlined by the pitchers on both sides in Yamamoto, Sasaki, and Shota Imanga on the Cubs, right? So that's where all the headlines were, and that's those 3 pitched in both games, right? Ohtani is the MLB's fuckboy, for lack of a better term, right? They suck him off no matter what because, if I'm being honest, he's one of the best players in baseball. There's no denying that. It is what it is. He may not only be one of the best players in baseball, he may be one of the best players of all time when it's come said and done. Okay? Whether you like it or not, Derek. So that's why they had to market him in Japan, and it just made sense, right? If you looked at all of the MLB's posts over the last few days, 90% of them are about Ohtani.
Insane.
Ohtani's first at bat, Ohtani's first hit, Ohtani's first ribby, Ohtani's first run. It's just a mosh pit of it. And this was to be expected. They played in Japan, Derek. This is literally Japan's wet dream. These 2 games were, right? They had their star players come out and ball out, for lack of a better term, right? Ohtani did very well in these 2 games. Shota and Yamamoto pitched very well the first game, right? Both of them were a bit on a pitch count and an innings count just because it's the first game of the MLB season, but they both pitched really well, right? So this was a success for the MLB because of how good the Japanese players did in this series. At the same time, look, it's the Dodgers and the Cubs at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday and Wednesday. So, sure, right? This was a marketing stunt by the MLB to get both of these teams in Tokyo in order to kick off the MLB season because they were not focusing on the U.S. market. They just weren't. They were focusing on the Japanese market, and that's okay. You know what? You got your 2 games out of the way. Let's go back to the States where baseball is born, and let's start playing baseball, right? I mean, for fuck's sake, the Dodgers, who were in the Tokyo Series, Dodgers fans would have had to wake up at 3 a.m. Pacific time.
You might as well stay up all night.
Exactly. So this was not marketed towards the fans of these teams, the Dodgers and the Cubs. They didn't really give a shit because they shouldn't. This is for the Japanese fans, these first two games. And you know what? It is what it is. The MLB got it out of the way. You got your Japanese players in Japan playing to start the MLB season. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Now we have to wait a full week. I did not intend for that. Now we have to wait a full week in order for the 27th to come so we can get actual fucking baseball in the United States back.
Bullshit.
And and so be it. I don't even give a shit. I'm not even mad. I know what the MLB is trying to do. I know they suck off Ohtani. I know he is going to be the centerpiece of the whole MLB season because the Dodgers are fucking stacked. So the sooner you get used to it, you, Derek, me, Dean, all MLB fans, the sooner we all get used to it, you can kind of just move past it. And in the back of your head, just hope something catastrophic happens to the Los Angeles Dodgers
Yeah. Yeah.
and move forward. And that's it.
I don't wish bad on players, but let me stop. I'm not gonna say anything bad.
I would never wish bad on players. I don't wish Ohtani to get injured. I just wish for the Dodgers to lose.
Yes.
Right? If at the end of this year, if the Yankees don't win the World Series, which let's be honest here, they're probably not, and the Dodgers don't win the World Series, I will count that as a mini win for me. And I think every MLB fan out there will count that as a mini win
I agree.
because of how stacked they are on paper.
I think the only loss for any fans, well, for Yankees fans, the only loss is if the Mets win the World Series, or if like the Dodgers or the Red Sox, like or in our division, win the World Series. Obviously.
Depends on the Yankee fan, you ask. Personally, I could give a shit if the Mets win it. I really could. If the Red Sox win it, I'm fucking jumping off the Verrazano.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it would just that's just how New York sports have gone lately. It's just how they've gone not only lately, but in the last decade. So would it surprise me if that happened? No. I'm going to go into the season open-minded. I'm going to hope that Hal Steinbrenner grows a new pair of testicles and actually tells Cashman to spend some more money. Are any of these things going to happen, by the way? No. Nothing. Zero. And typically, how it's going to work is the Yankees are going to be decent until the trade deadline, and we're going to go out there and get two or three relief pitchers that you've never heard of. And they're going to say, we upgraded. And that'll be the end of that. However, I'm being closed-minded. It's a new MLB season. I'm happy baseball is back. I don't want to talk about all the negativity. We have baseball coming back in 7 days. 7 days, everybody. So take a deep breath. Enjoy that baseball's back because that means spring and summer is right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And that also means NBA and NHL playoffs are coming. So we're coming up on the best portion of the year sports-wise. I think everybody needs to just relax, take a deep breath. Who gives a fuck about Ohtani? They got their...
Oh my fucking god. I don't think you could say that.
Huh?
I really don't think you could say that.
But I did want to transition that, Derek, to stay within baseball. We did our division predictions, right? We got that down pat. We did it. We went in depth, each division, bottom to top. Well, top to bottom. You know what I mean. Now it's time to pick our playoff and World Series predictions pre start of the MLB season. Not counting these last two games because who gives a shit?
Yeah, there's 162 games. Well, 160 for those two.
Exactly. So what I want to do, Derek, is I would like to predict our NLCS, our ALCS, and then our World Series matchup, and then our World Series winner, if that works for you.
I'm perfectly fine. Are we gonna be like special and do games, or no? We're not gonna go that far.
No. Let's not get. Look, you want to say, for example, the Dodgers win the World Series in 6 games, or the Yankees win the the ALCS in 5 games. So be it. More power to you. I'm not going to say games because I could give it because this early in the season it's very hard. Like it's hard to predict the matchups as it is. So, Derek, let's start with the NLCS. All right, let's start with NL. Which two teams do you think will be battling it out in the NL for a World Series appearance?
Well, one team is the Dodgers. There's no way
Okay.
they
All
don't.
right, we got that out of the way.
There's no way they don't make it.
Okay.
But the other team, I'm conflicted.
Okay.
I'm stuck between the Phillies
Hmm.
and or the Mets. I'm leaning towards the Phillies. So I think that the Phillies, even though they didn't do much in offseason, their team has pretty much stayed the same, if I for a lack of a better term. So I think they still have the best team in that division, and I feel like the only team that's better than them in the NL, which is proved in the past 3 years, is the Dodgers. So I think I could see Dodgers Phillies in the
Okay, so you're
ALCS.
gonna go Dodgers Phillies.
Yes.
And let's hear it. Who's going to the World Series?
Oh, the Dodgers.
Okay. All right. So you got the Dodgers beating the Phillies in the
I have
NLCS.
them sweeping them in four a 4-0 sweep.
4-0 sweep. Look at you. Wow, you're going nice and bold. All right. So I'm gonna go my NLCS now. It's safe to say I have the Dodgers in the NLCS as well, right? I think they are the best team in the NL. They're probably the best team in the major leagues. Um, Not a lot of teams on the AL side of things really compare to that portion of it. The AL is a lot weaker just on paper than the NL. I do think the Dodgers will be in the NLCS. I'm going to go a little, I don't even want to say bold here. It's only bold not because they have a bad team. It's only bold because they're in the same division. I'm going to go Dodgers Diamondbacks. Dodgers Diamondbacks. I love what the Diamondbacks did in the offseason here. They picked up you know, a few hitting pieces here and there, nothing too crazy, right? But the major big name that they picked up obviously was Corbin Burns, right? He is an ace, not to mention he's with another ace on that team in Zach Gallen. So their starting pitching staff is looking pretty solid with Brandon Pfaadt, Zach Gallen, Corbin Burns. You can even put Merrill Kelly in there, even though he's getting a little bit up in age. But if he's healthy, he's going to be good. And then, not to mention Eduardo Rodriguez, who was phenomenal a couple of years ago on the Tigers. So their pitching staff is definitely one of the best in the NL that could maybe compete with the Dodgers lineup. And then on top of that, they made, like I mentioned, they made some, tiny moves here and there to the lineup that was already good, right? They made a pretty big trade for Josh Naylor, who's a very good power hitting first baseman. They signed a couple of key players like a Eugenio Suarez, who's, a solid production guy. So I do like what the Diamondbacks did. However, I'm going to have to go with you. The Dodgers will beat them. I'm not going to go sweep. I think that's a little egregious. When you get to the NLCS, if there's a sweep, there's a problem. I'm going to go Dodgers in six.
Respect them.
And I think that's fair. But the
Well, that's also a
Dodgers will be
division.
making.
That's a divisional series. That's a huge series.
Exactly. So they're going to be playing each other a lot of times throughout the year, so they're going to be very acclimated with each other. I think it's just going to be a good, hardcore NLCS. Dodgers in six. Diamondbacks definitely on the come up. But unfortunately, the Diamondbacks are going to need something massive to happen to beat the Dodgers. Yeah. Um, but yeah, those are our two. Unfortunately for all the viewers out there, I think that's just an easy one for me and Derek to pick the Dodgers going to the World Series. If it's not them, it's honestly going to be a surprise, I think, to a lot of MLB fans. So that'll be our NLCSs. Derek, much tougher conference
Oh yeah.
because there really isn't a runaway team. Who we think in your ALCS?
So a couple weeks ago, I would have a lock for one of my teams, but
Okay.
because of certain things that happened to said team, that lock is might not be there. One of
Okay.
the teams, though, who I have a weird good feeling about to make it to the ALCS
Hmm.
is the Kansas City Royals. I have them winning their division. I believe I said that they will win the division in our little division segment. But I think that their team is just last year they did very well. So I think I believe it got a little better. But this is like a team where I just have a gut feeling they're gonna surprise everyone and
Okay.
pull off the unthinkable and go to the ALCS.
Okay. Against?
Okay, this is where it gets tough. So this is my theory. My theory is this: Obviously, Yankees, no Garrett Cole. No Garrett Cole, no happiness. We also have Luis Hill who touches himself and is hurt. We have uh, John Carlos Stan who jerks off with both hands.
Hey, good for him. He's ambidextrous.
Yeah, God bless him.
Yep.
But if if the Yankees make moves and all this shit going down the line, I would say them. But as of now, I cannot say them because Cashman and Steinbrenner are jerking each other off right now, and it's pissing me. Exactly.
Yep.
So my other team, which it might seem crazy, but it's in their division. It is the Boston Red Sox. Traitor! I hate to say this. I'm a Yankee fan. I hate saying this, but I see the ALCS being the Kansas City Royals versus the Boston Red Sox.
Okay. Well, look, I respect it. Boston made a lot of good moves this offseason. There's no doubt about it, right? They were very mid last year in probably the toughest division in the AL, just because you had the Yankees and the Orioles there, with Toronto kind of in that mid tier like Boston. But they did make a lot of moves this offseason, right? Their biggest one was going out and trading for Crochet. So, look,
And
I get
and
it.
Bregman. Don't forget about him.
And not to mention they did sign Bregman, so I get it. But the big question is, who do you have going to the World Series? Oh, you're despicable. You're just a disgraceful individual.
I'm
You
going.
could say it.
No, I'm gonna go with my gut, and I say the Kansas City Royals go to the World Series.
Oh, okay. All right.
I even though with all like the additions
Yep.
to the Red Sox, good additions who helped out their team massively. Bregman, Crochet, and obviously a couple minor additions to help him out. I just have a sick feeling that like Bobby Witt is gonna pull off like an MVP season because last year if there was no Aaron Judge in there, it was Soto and him.
Okay.
Well, no,
I understand. You
no,
don't
no,
have
no.
to say if there's no judge. You could just say he was up there with them.
No, but I'm saying like if Judge like didn't have an outrageous year, then Bobby Witt would have probably taken it. I think this year, Bobby Witt will take it, be the AL MVP, and lead them to the World Series. Do you want me to say my answer
Not
now?
yet.
Okay.
We can get to it.
Okay.
I am going to say my ALCS. All right. So it is different than yours, right? I did not pick the same as you this time around, which is nice, which is a nice feeling, right? First and foremost, I'm going the Yankees. I think the Yankees make it to the ALCS. They've had a lot of injuries. Garrett Cole, Luis Heel, Giancarlo Stanton, a huge portion of that lineup. You got a lot of old guys in that lineup, like Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger coming off an injury-riddled year. Judge is a huge guy. He could unfortunately get injured at any point, but he hasn't, knock on wood. There are a lot of concerns on the Yankees. They did make some moves in which some of those concerns can be mitigated, right? Max Fried coming in to replace Cole. Once again, Max Fried is very injury prone, so who knows that what goes on there. Will Warren, who I think is going to be a very good pitcher for the Yankees. I think he'll be a good five-spot rotation guy this year. I think Schmidt will be good. So I do think they could. I think they can at least go through a very weak AL, and I think they can make it there. I really do. Okay. That being said, there will not be making the World Series. So this next team that I say who will be playing them in the ALCS, I think is going to win the World Series, and I think they're going to win the ALCS in 6 games. I am going to take the Texas Rangers. Texas is a very good team. A lot of people forget that they won the World Series 2 years ago. Like it's crazy to think that because of how mediocre they were last year, which is surprising to say coming off of a World Series winning year. That being said, their pitching staff is solid. This is a lot of questions as well, right? DeGrom. We know what DeGrom is, but he's coming off massive injuries. So if Texas can somehow bubble wrap him until the playoffs, that is a huge ace in the playoffs, and everybody knows how important an ace is in the playoffs. They re-signed Nathan Eovaldi. You know what you're getting from him. He's very solid, right? You have a bunch of rookies who can maybe make a splash for you. Jack Leiter, Kamar Rocker. We don't know. We don't know what they're. We're going to see how they do throughout this year as they bring up. But then they also signed a few people who can fill in the void until then, right? Tyler Mahle, Patrick Corbin. They actually just signed yesterday, who sucks, mind you, but he can still eat innings. So I think their pitching staff is okay, mind you, injuries, and maybe they make a move at the deadline, which I could see them doing. Especially because their division is a lot weaker than it was last year. The Astros are nowhere near where they were. Their lineup is insane, though, still. You still have Corey Seager, one of the best hitters in the game. You still have Marcus Semien, one of the best second basemen in the game, right? You got Josh Jung in the infield rounding that out. You got your outfield, Wyatt Langford, one of the best prospects in all of baseball. Not to mention Adolis Garcia, who is a home run machine. And then Jock Peterson, who they signed. So I think they have an extremely good lineup. And I think it could carry them, not only to being a division winner, which I think they're going to do with flying colors, by the way. I don't think Seattle. Seattle is one of those teams that always we say they're going to be there, but they never get there.
They choke.
Yeah, they really do. So I think Texas is going to win their division. I think Texas is going to make it to the ALCS. I think Texas is going to beat the Yankees in 6 games. And I think they're going to go to the World Series and play the Los Angeles Dodgers for a World Series title.
Yeah, but Dean, you might as well get into it because you did say that they would win.
Yes.
Elaborate on that.
Yep. I think, yeah, sure. I think they are going to beat the Dodgers in 7 games. I think they are going to win the World Series. And it's cliche to say, but my number one argument is going to be experience factor.
Fair.
And you can make that exact argument for the Dodgers. I get it. I don't want to be hypocritical. I really don't. Because the Dodgers have a lot of good pieces that have been there before, like Freddie Freeman, like Clayton Kershaw, even though Kershaw's getting on the older side and he really doesn't done much since. But I just think Texas had an off year last year. They're going to come back stronger, better than ever. And you know what? I'm going to make the bold prediction now that I think DeGrom is going to be healthy enough and he's going to make it all the way to the World Series. So I think DeGrom and Eovaldi as your 1-2 is going to carry this team. And that's my bold prediction. I'm going to take the Texas Rangers to be your 2025 World Series champions in 7 games.
Right? That's shocking. Very shocking. Don't get me wrong, I 100% agree with you. Texas is a very good team. They're very under the radar because obviously the season they had last year. But obviously injuries riddle everything in the world.
Look, I went bold just because if we're looking at this from a realistic standpoint and a realistic point of view, DeGrom could go down quite literally in a month.
Oh, yeah.
Nathan Eovaldi is old, man. Nathan Eovaldi has done already 2 Tommy John surgeries, and he's 35 years old. He could go down in a month.
He could lose
right?
his arm.
These players, really on any team, you could say the same thing for the Dodgers, right? It's just a fact of how baseball is nowadays, where there's so many injuries. Things can change like that. The Dodgers could have 3 injuries in the first month, and then you're looking at them a whole different way, right? Yamamoto could get Tommy John. I would never wish this on players, but he could. He's a young kid. He's throwing 100 miles per hour, right? Sasaki could get Tommy John. First year in the big leagues, he's throwing 100, pumping gas, throwing every 5-6 days. It could happen. Freddie Freeman is on the older side. He could get another bad ankle injury, be out for 2 months. You don't know these things. These things are very unpredictable. So what me and Derek are doing right now is just asinine because things can literally change next week.
Oh, yeah.
But I went bold. I'm going to say health is going to be of the essence, and I'm going to say DeGrom is finally going to get his World Series title. And Mets fans, once again, I'm a Yankee fan who really don't care about the Mets, but to watch DeGrom win a World Series in another uniform, Mets fans may actually jump off of one of their Queensboro bridges.
Yeah.
So that's my final prediction for this MLB season, Derek.
That that's bold, but I respect it. I like
Thank
bold.
you.
Bold is entertaining. Will I go
It is.
bold? No. I'm going
No, you're
realistic.
gonna go smart, so I don't blame you.
I'm gonna go smart. Even though I'm high on the Royals, I think the Royals will make it there, but I do think they will get stopped by them, by the Dodgers. The team that everyone looks at is like God created. It was handpicked, put them there. Boom. I think the Dodgers do take the series in 6 games. I do think it's going to be a close series to where I in fact think the Royals will have a 2-1 lead.
Wow. That's
Yes.
your bold statement right there. That's egregious.
I don't think it's egregious because
Okay.
obviously the from what I've seen last year, and obviously they only from last year's team to this year's team, they added Blake Snell and rookie. Those are like two main factors on like the pitching standpoint. So what say God willing nothing happens of injuries and all that stuff happening, they do have games to where they just get rocked. In the NLCS, they had a couple. What was it? 11-run game by the Mets or 12-run game. So those games are very possible. And with the Royals, they have very high hit. Their hitting is very well. That's the only problem I would say is their pitching. So I think they will start it off up 2-1, but proceed to lose the next 3 games.
I respect it, man. Look, I feel like we both went a little bit bold with our matchups coming out of the AL, just because you have to, and I do think the AL is wide open. I think a lot of people can argue that is correct. So I respect your nicely done, everybody. Derek, Dodgers in 6 over the Royals. Dean, Rangers in 7 over the Dodgers. Those are our beginning of the season predictions. We will do midseason predictions because a lot will change. So we'll do predictions around the All-Star break if that works with you, Derek.
Yes, 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 yes.
But I hope everybody enjoyed that. Feel free to leave us comments on how stupid we are. We're always happy to hear these.
Yes.
That being said, Derek, I know we have a big segment this week, right? And I know everybody knows what that big segment is. At least I hope everybody knows.
If you don't, you're living under a rock.
I agree, kind of, right? Sports are in that little bit of a lull period. Spring training's coming to an end. NBA and NHL season are coming to an end. So we're in a little bit of a lull stage. However, it's March. That's enough said until we get to the segment. However, before that segment, Derek, we have 2 mailbags this week.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
I've picked them out. One is specifically for me.
Okay.
One is specifically for you.
Okay.
Which one do you want to start with?
We'll go you first.
Okay. All right.
You still
So,
want me to answer the question though, right?
no, specifically for me,
Okay.
specifically for you.
Okay.
We're gonna each give each other the floor, 2 3-minute response, and that'll be that for the mailbag. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Okay. First question, you wanted to start with me. It's from our old friend Nikki from the Bronx. Nikki,
OG.
I know you're looking forward to the MLB season. I know you're looking forward to the Mets and watching Juan Soto and Orange. So, very nice. But he did go a little bit at my throat here, just because he knows I'm a Ranger fan. So I'll give him his time of day. Okay, Dean, been here before, obviously a long time listener. Wanted to ask you a question about the NHL, specifically about your New York Rangers. The Rangers had one of their most horrific losses in recent memory against the Calgary Flames the other night, where they were fighting for a playoff position and came out like they were a bottom tier team in the NHL. Thanks, Nikki, for actually reliving that in my head. I really do appreciate that. My question to you is, if they don't make the playoffs, assuming they won't, what changes would you like to see immediately this offseason to turn around the team for next? Very loaded question. So first and foremost, yes. As an NHL fan, as a Ranger fan, I could honestly say this, where the game last night against the Calgary Flames could have been the worst, disappointing, disheartening lackluster, toxic game that I have ever watched as a New York Ranger fan. Going into this game, Calgary was on a back-to-back. The Rangers are fighting for their playoff lives, and they have 13 shots on goal the entire game. So after that game, I can confidently say, and I agree with Nikki, they will not be making the playoffs. Okay? And even if they do, I want Derek to hold this to me. I will not be talking good about them at all. I don't even want to discuss them anymore on this podcast, if I'm being completely honest, until next year. That's how disgusted I am with them. They're a disgraceful team, and they no effort, no heart. Go fuck yourselves, Rangers. However, that's not the question. The question is, after the season is over, they miss the playoffs, what changes would you make? First and foremost, GM, coach, gone. I want a new regime. I honestly think it's proven at this point, right? I think the coach should have been fired after last night. This team, quite literally, I'm being dead ass, fighting for their playoff lives, came out like they were a college team against an NHL team. No effort, horrible heart on the floor, no hitting, no passing, no scoring whatsoever outside the first 2 minutes of the game. The only reason it was a 2-1 game at the end was because Igor Shesterkin actually cares about what he's doing. I think Lavalette should be gone immediately. Get him out. He's clearly not motivating the players. I don't want him anymore. Get the fuck out. Secondly, to the GM, I want him out too. Right? He's constructed this team from top to bottom. He made 3 trades at this year's deadline, Derek. 3 trades at this deadline. All 3 of those players, Dahan, Parsonen, Soucy, all healthy scratches this week. What does that say about what you're doing? You're giving up 3rd and 4th round picks and even a 2nd round pick for guys who aren't even playing on a nightly basis. Horrible management. Get out. I want you gone. Okay? Second step, it is not all on the coach. These players are pathetic. Right? A coach can only do so much with the system that he has in place and motivating his team. It's up to the players in the end, right? To go out there, give it your all and play.
Yes.
Chris Kreider has given up on this team. It is disappointing because he's been one of the best Rangers of my hockey fandom, and he is going out like a bitch. I want him traded or I want him cut. He is no longer worthy of a roster spot. That's first and foremost. Mika Zibanejad, another one of probably one of the best Rangers that I've seen in my lifetime. He is not going to get any better than he is right now. He's actually continuously on a decline. I would trade him for anything you can get, whether it's a 2nd round pick or whether it's a prospect. Get rid of him. Shed the cap. Third, re-sign Artemi Panarin. He's going into his final year of his contract next year. He looked like the past 2 nights he's the only Ranger who actually gives a shit, who's not named Igor Shesterkin. So I would re-sign him immediately. He is definitely by far the best Ranger I've ever seen in my lifetime, outside of the goaltending. Lundqvist and Igor, putting them aside because they're goats. Those are my first 3 moves right there. And that is non-negotiable for the new regime. That has to happen in order to move this team forward. You need a new identity. And this also is in the fact that they still may suck next year under my plan. And I think that's okay. I want a full, soft rebuild. And that's my plan for the New York Rangers.
Real quick, this is the only question I have for you. How long of a rebuild as a fan would you want?
Soft rebuild, right? So you do have some decent pieces on this team. Will Cooley is an up-and-coming star. He's really good. Alexi Lafreniere's had a pretty bad second half of this year. I still believe in him, and you just signed him to a 7-year contract. So he's still going to be a part of your plans. You still have Vincent Trocheck under contract. Like I said, I still want Artemi Panarin under contract. So I don't want them to just blow it up completely. I want them to get rid of some of these older guys that are bringing them down. I want them to bring up some of their prospects. Like, I want Brennan Othman to actually play minutes. I want Brett Berard to actually play minutes that aren't on the 4th line with big 7-foot ogre Matt Rempe. Right? I want these guys who actually have skill and talent, who are in our system, to have an opportunity to show that talent. And that's something the Rangers have not done in the past, right? We've flopped on a lot. Capo Caco sucked with us. Philip Hedel, multiple concussions with us, almost died. Alexi Lafreniere has not reached his full potential. We've had so many prospects come up that have sucked after hyping them up for years, Derek, because we are an organization that doesn't know how to manage young players. And I want that to change under a new regime. I want the young players to go on to the first and second line, prove that they can do it. If they still suck, then get the fuck out of here. That's fine. But you can't put them on the fourth line and expect them to just go off. It's not how it works. Fucking Brett Berard is playing with Matt Rempe and Sam Carrick. Are you kidding me? What do you like if you're a coach or if you're a fan, what do you expect Brett Berard to do? He's gonna have one goal in 20 games because nobody on that line knows how to pass the fucking puck. So a change needs to happen. A change organizationally needs to happen for the Rangers to move forward. I am okay with a soft rebuild as long as the entire organizational regime changes. That's my point. Nikki from the Bronx, go fuck yourself. I hope that answered all of your question. We're done talking about the Rangers until next October.
Oh my fucking god.
Okay, that was fun. I needed to get that off my chest. I actually felt pretty good, so I appreciate that, Nikki. Woo! God damn, I could literally bench like 400 pounds right now. I feel like I have the energy of a fucking moose. We're going to get into the second question. Derek, this is going to be your time to go off and rant a little bit. It's probably not going to be a rant, but we do want to hear your thoughts on this next question. Are you ready?
Yeah, I like ranting. It's very fun.
Okay. So I asked this person multiple times via our comments if they wanted to divulge a name in a town. They did not. So they're going to go by anonymous. I apologize, Derek. Right? It's our first anonymous. We're not going to pressure anybody to give a name or anything like that. It's still a good question. So, Mr. Derek.
Yes.
Over the last 10 to 15 years, there has not been a repeat division winner in the NFC East. Obviously, as you know, being an Eagles fan, the Eagles won the division this past year, not only winning the division, but winning the Super Bowl. The Commanders were on their heels. The Cowboys will be getting back Dak Prescott. And the Giants, well, who knows? His words, not mine. Do you think the streak will be broken where the Eagles will finally win a back-to-back division title, breaking the streak of the last 15 years? Or do you think another team in the division will continue that streak, i.e. will the Commanders or the Cowboys win the division?
One thing I love, he just didn't include the Giants at all.
I mean, look, he's a smart man. I don't even know his name. I don't know what he does. He's a smart man.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's very smart.
The Giants have zero chance of winning the division. I would actually bet my left testicle that they don't win the division. So, Derek, the question has been asked. Thank you, Anonymous. Hopefully, maybe we get your name in the future if you feel more comfortable. But, Derek, the floor is yours.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to go, because it leads up to where I'm going to. Off-season perspective, without anything, the Eagles, I'm comparing the Eagles and the Commanders right now. The Eagles said, you know what, we won the Super Bowl. We spoke with this our last episode. We have to get rid of some cap for the future, which I understand completely. I understand it completely. But losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson, huge. Losing Milton Williams, huge. Losing Josh Sweat, huge. Those are big pieces on our team we lost.
Not to mention, by the way, who just retired?
I was going to get to that.
Okay.
Our veteran piece, Brandon Graham, retired yesterday after 15 years. 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl wins. Great for him. God bless him. I'm going to rant about the Eagles in a second. Because I'm pissed. Mind you, I love Howie Roseman. God bless him. But what the Commanders are doing, they're like, all right, we went to the NFC Championship game, and we got absolutely belt to ass. The entire game. We had a third string running back rush for 70 yards and a touchdown. That's a problem. So they built an O-line for Jane Daniels. They built a better defense somehow for that team. They only got better. So do I think the streak is going to keep on going on to our different teams? Yes, I do. Because unless the Eagles do a crazy thing, which they're known of doing, because no one expected the Eagles to trade for A.J. Brown when they did. In the draft, we had the 32nd pick. We won the Super Bowl, and in the next couple of years, we have a lot of picks. Make an egregious trade for a star or something like that. Unless that happens, or unless we have another godly draft, which we're due for a stinker. Don't get me wrong, Howie has had his stinkers. Missed out on Justin Jefferson, missed out on DK Metcalf, and the list continues. So I do think the streak continues, and I think the Commanders win the division this year. But if you rewind to after the Super Bowl, me cracking the beer, me all happy, I'm like, the Eagles are going to win the division. I see it's going back to back. My mind has fucking changed. I'm fucking pissed. Obviously, we signed Zach Bond. That made me feel so happy. All-pro middle linebacker, great player. Need him on their team. We've always struggled with linebackers. Right? Instead, we get rid of our safety, which we've direly had a problem for. I don't know what the fuck we're going to do with that. I hope we draft another guy from Georgia and just build a Georgia Bulldog defense. The only side that I'm not worrying about is our ends. Because for some reason, the Eagles either draft or find some godly rushers that we develop and turn to gods. Jalen Carter, obviously drafted late because of issues off the field. Jordan Davis, big, scary. Huff, scary. That's the line is my least of my concern. But what the Eagles did in the secondary, which we're known to having our problems for. Oh, and I forgot. We said, all right, big play, Slay, go. Have fun in Pittsburgh. That shit. I don't understand why get rid of him now, because we still have young corners on our team. Guantanamo Bay, Cooper DeJean.
Guantanamo Bay, Christ.
That's his nickname, man. I gotta call him that.
You did forget to mention the biggest offseason departure that you had that's going to derail the Eagles. You got rid of Kenny Pickett.
Actually, I do want to talk about that. I'm fine with having I don't understand why we did that trade. There was no benefit in doing that trade. For us, at least. We got a guy who I'm pretty sure in a game he had -8 yards for 3 quarters. Why the fuck would we add that to a team? I don't want him in the locker room. I don't want him to touch Jalen Hurts. I don't want him near Jalen Hurts. I actually want him to be in his own little room by himself. Okay. I forgot about that. I tried to erase it from my fucking memory. Oh my god. Oh, I forgot we lost Mekhi Becton, our O-line. Which, it does suck, but we'll find another one. We're good with that. I'm not worried about that. But, in general, Anonymous, I don't think the Eagles will win the division this year, unfortunately. And I do think the Commanders will win the division.
Okay. Thank you, Anonymous. I did want to clarify something for this gentleman that he said 10 to 15 years that this streak has been going on. I did want to look it up to be more precise. And it's even crazier looking it up because of how crazy our division is. The last back-to-back winner was 2003 and 2004 by the Eagles. So we are going now on 22 years. Astonishing. That really is amazing. That may never happen again in any division, in any sport.
Mm-hmm.
So I did want to address that really quick. I wanted to get that point off our chest. But Anonymous, thank you. Nick from the Bronx, thank you. I hope me and Derek answered both of your questions to a standard that you wanted to. We gave depth. We gave reasoning. I don't know what more you can want.
Exactly.
That being said, Derek.
Yes.
It's March.
You know what time it is.
It's time to talk about the madness
of March.
Thanks, Derek. Really appreciate that little tidbit at the end there. We're going to talk about March Madness now for the remainder of this podcast. I think it's only necessary. The first 4 games, 2 of them happened last night. 2 of them are happening tonight. By the time the podcast comes out, we will be well into the first and maybe even second round. So I'm talking round of 64, then round of 32, Derek. Just to make you sure that your math in your head. I know you have a hamster wheel going. I just wanted to make sure that you are on the same page as me. So we did need to discuss it before anything happened, before anything big happened. First 4 games, obviously, it's not a huge big deal. It's just teams trying to get into the bracket. UNC was probably the biggest one last night that beat San Diego State to make it to an 11 seed. We have another couple going on tonight, the 11 seed being Xavier in Texas, which we will look into. But Derek, we obviously have to discuss it. We're going to discuss bracket Final Four. We're going to discuss bracket final. We're going to discuss bracket winner of this NCAA tournament. There has never been a perfect bracket before. Me and Derek will not attempt to do one because we don't want you guys to waste your time here. However, Derek, would you like to start off in the round of 64? Every year there is one. Every year it happens. Is there an upset you see?
Yes.
Okay.
I see the University of Michigan getting upset by UC San Diego.
Oh, we're getting into it now, baby.
I don't get me wrong, Michigan, great coach team. They've consistently have been extremely good. And obviously they've pulled off their upsets against some big teams before. But this is the year to where I don't know what it is. Honestly, it's been weird. I've been looking at this bracket for probably the past 2 hours, after it got released, and this UC San Diego team. I don't know why. I just feel like they're gonna pull off an Oakland, what they did last year against Kentucky, and pull off the unthinkable, and win that game. That's one of my upsets. I have a couple more, but we could get into it a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into one of my upsets as well. I mean, it's you can say honestly, it's kind of similar to yours, a 5 versus a 12. I'm gonna go another 5 being upset. I think this team was way too highly seeded, if I'm being honest, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. I'm gonna go Memphis, the 5 seed Memphis in the West bracket, being upset by Colorado State. I thought Memphis should have been an 8 or a 9 seed, and somehow they snuck into a top 5 seed. They're good. I think they get smoked against Colorado State. I think Memphis absolutely gets fucking shellacked.
Okay.
Against Colorado State.
I'm actually gonna strongly disagree with you.
Okay.
That is, when you said that, I'm like, is this motherfucker smoking or something? All right, Memphis. I understand they're seated very high, which I do not disagree with.
Okay.
But their coach is absolutely insane. I don't know the way he's coached a lot of big games. They're not losing to Colorado State. Will they lose in their next round? I agree.
So I want to take it to the betting side just a little bit. Don't you think it's a little weird that a 12 seed is favored over a 5, Derek?
Oh, of course I think it's weird. Do I think it's fucking I'm literally taking Memphis's line. I swear to God.
The fact that Colorado State is favored over Memphis is all I need to see. A 5 seed in the first round is not favored. That's enough for me. I'm putting my life on Colorado State.
That is ridiculous.
I mean, that's disgraceful. Even if bookies felt that Memphis somehow got a higher seed than they should have, which they did, the fact to put a 12 seed as a 1.5 point favorite, I don't give a fuck who's coaching Memphis. That's just me. I think that's ridiculous. I think that is asinine. I think it is telling that bookies feel this way. But we're going to move on. We're not going to get too heated. Derek, you had some more.
Of course. Um, I would consider this an upset
Okay.
in a way. The reason why I'm considering an upset is because they won the championship last year. I see Oklahoma upsetting the reigning defending champs, UConn. I feel like Oklahoma is a very scrappy squad. They're they're a team that like you wouldn't expect to like pull out like a not a blowout against a good team or like a very like high intensity game, push the pressure, full court press, all the above. And I think it's going to be hard for Mr. I believe his name is Dan Hurley is going to struggle. Obviously, they had their crumbles in the beginning of the year to where they lost 2 games where no one expected them to lose. So I do think that the defending champs will be knocked out in the first round.
Okay. I look, I respect that. UConn is definitely not what they were last year. No doubt about it. I do think their championship pedigree and their championship coach will definitely bring them over the first round. I don't think they make it too much farther than that. So you picking this as an upset, it does not surprise me too well, and I'm not going to be too upset about it. So I like that one. I do. Just because it's March. Do I agree with what I'm about to say? No.
If I,
I want that disclaimer.
oh no,
I'm going to start off by saying I don't think any 1 seeds in the round of 64 this year around are going to lose.
Okay, good.
So I want that to be said first and foremost. However, I am going to choose a 2 seed to lose.
Oh no.
I am going to say that the number 15 seed Bryant is going to beat and upset Michigan State in the very first round, and I think it's going to destroy everybody's brackets. Once again, I put a disclaimer out front. Do I think it's going to happen? No. However, looking at the 2 seeds versus the 15 seeds, and this is obviously an asinine statement as well, just because of how much every single 2 seed is favored, I do think they are the 2 seed that could lose, that could get upset. Right? Tennessee is playing their best basketball of the season. I really don't see them fucking losing to Wofford. I don't care how many white guys that could shoot 3-pointers are on Wofford this year. I really don't. St. John's, quite literally playing the best year since the 90s under Petito. They are not losing to Omaha. Get that out of your head, everybody. Enough with that. And then Alabama also playing phenomenal basketball. Robert Morris is not winning that game. Robert Morris, you should just be happier even in the tournament.
Yeah,
so good for you.
Appreciate that.
Exactly. So if there's any 2 seeds that I think could maybe be upset, it's Michigan State in my eyes. You can disagree with me. You can hate me. You can call me names. I've been called names before. Don't worry. It's okay. I just think if there is going to be one of the 2 seeds that loses, it's going to be this one. That's my personal opinion. The win percentage here is still 93% in favor of the Spartans. So let's not get crazy. I'm not saying this is going to be one of those upsets that you could predict because it's not. But that's the one big one that I'm going to go this year.
I'm not kidding on this. I was thinking about this all day. I actually agree with you.
Holy shit, he agrees with me.
I think because if you obviously go into the Big Ten championship,
yep,
they were not compared to the other teams that are in this bracket. They're not the best of teams. The only reason why they're there is because they won the championship, and they're not gonna they're not gonna be in like the 4th or 5th seed. Obviously, based on a couple of games they played this year, they were strength of schedule, which leads them to where they are now. But I could see it happening. I don't know why. That was actually my next one. Because for some reason, I feel like that this school is going to pull off the unthinkable. Well, technically unthinkable. And beat Michigan State. And Michigan State fans will actually curl up in a ball. And just never come out.
Yeah, Michigan State fans. I mean, look, like I said, I don't think it's going to happen. However, if it does happen, you guys maybe go hide somewhere under a rock or something like that
Yeah,
for a couple of days and
yeah,
more maybe a couple of weeks.
yeah, yeah. That'd be not the best.
Do you have any additional upsets here, Derek?
I believe I have one. I just need to find the game again.
Yeah, no, take your time. If you want, I could always go with my final upset.
Yes, go with yours. Go with yours.
Okay, so call it an upset if you will. It's the line isn't too crazy, right? It's not like it's going to be a crazy situation if they do lose or not, just because they're. I'm gonna. By the way, I'm gonna go with another 5 seed, not Michigan. That is. Somehow me and you have somehow mentally agreed that the 5 seeds are just weak this year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's okay. Usually it's either a 4 or 5 or a 6 seed every year that just 3 out of the 4 lose, which is crazy. I'm going to go Oregon losing this year to Liberty. Hate me if you want. I get Oregon is quite good.
Oh my
They
god.
they they lost to Michigan State, which I also predicted is going to be an L here, right? And Liberty, let's call a spade a spade. Liberty is not in a great conference or anything like that, but they did very confidently win their tournament. I'm just gonna look. There's no rhyme or reason for it. I'm gonna take the Ducks to go home and Liberty to keep on dancing.
Oh god. I have no words. Like I want to rebuttal, but I have no words to rebuttal. So I'm gonna let you live with that one because I know mine is about to be absolutely insane, and you're probably gonna give me the reaction I just gave you.
Okay.
But for me, how I see it is last year they got upset. No one expected it. University of Kentucky will lose to Troy. I don't
Oh
know
God,
why. I just have a weird feeling that, and mind you, if this happens, if they lose another time, being the 3rd seed and losing to a 14 seed, fire everybody.
it's it's not out of the realm. I don't hate this one.
Really?
Kentucky just got absolutely fucking shellacked
Yeah.
against Alabama. Like fucking murdered. And Alabama is over here in the tournament like as a 2 seed. So that big of a gap between a 2 and a 3 seed is pretty astronomical.
Hmm.
So I don't hate it. Do I think Troy out of all teams is going to upset Kentucky? No. I think it's more likely to come in the second round, maybe against who they play, Illinois, or at least I think tonight is going to win Texas in that 11 seed. So I think it's more likely in the second round to come. However, I'm gonna look. You hated my Oregon prediction. I don't hate Kentucky losing.
I'm
I
really
really
sorry.
don't.
I
I
thought
really
that was
don't.
that was my second biggest one besides the the big one that you and me both picked.
Yeah. So that's our first round predictions. We're gonna obviously get into the second round, to the Sweet 16 next week after the round of 64 and 32 are over. However, it's before the tournament starts, Derek. We have to pick our final four, then our final, and our winner of this whole thing. And this is for bragging rights, because if one of us picks the correct one, I think we could pretty much hold that over each other's heads until next tournament.
Oh,
So a
I
full
I
12 months.
I agree. I agree. Fuck.
So we'll go 1-1. Do you want to do your final four first?
Yes.
Or do you want me to do it?
Actually, you go first. You go first.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go obviously each side of the bracket by each side of the bracket. So my final four coming out of the East, I think it's Duke. It sounds corny. They're a 1 seed. I get it. Duke is one of, if not the best team in the nation right now. And that's even without Cooper Flag. They can afford to even sit him in the first round, in the round of 64. That's completely serious, by the way. So I think he's going to have plenty of time to rest when the games get bigger in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight and so on and so forth. So I think Duke makes it to the Final Four here. Going to the Midwest, I'm going to go a 2 seed. I'm not going to say Houston. I think Houston chokes every year. I don't like them. I'm going to go Tennessee. I love Tennessee this year. I think the Vols have been playing really good basketball, especially as of late. They did, look, they did have their loss against Florida in their tournament final. They kept it close somewhat, and then Florida kind of just really kicked it into high gear in the second half. So I get it. I do like the Vols though in the Final Four. Going to take them out of the East here personally. The West. Going to get a lot of shit for this because Florida is maybe even better than Duke and maybe even better, the best in the nation. I'm going to say they don't make it out of the West. I'm going to take the St. John's team led by Rick Pitino. We're going to take them, another 2 seed coming out of the West. That's going to be my prediction there. And then this is my big one, Derek. This is the one that I've been waiting for. This is my upset central making it to the Final Four. Out of the South, the 7 seed, Marquette, making it into my Final Four. I think they beat New Mexico in the first round handedly. I think if Michigan State makes it to the second round, I just spoke about why I don't think they're that good. I think Marquette beats them. And then eventually, I think they beat whoever comes off the other side of the bracket, which, by the way, I don't think is Auburn's going to make it to the Elite Eight. I think Auburn is a fraudulent 1 seed. Yep, you heard it. I think Auburn is a fraudulent 1 seed. That is my big boy upset making it to the Final Four. I'm going to take the 7 seed Marquette Golden Eagles to make it to the Final Four, and that will be rounding out my Final Four. Duke, Marquette, St. John's, Tennessee.
Okay. I have no words for the last one, but I'll try to move on. So, I'm going to start with the South. With the South, I have the team who you said you don't see making it out of there. Auburn. That team is very good. Very, very talented and very good.
Second round loss.
Okay, I see them making it out of the South. I don't see any other team beating them. I see them beating Louisville, see them beating Creighton, obviously see them beating Alabama State. I actually see them stomping on Michigan if Michigan makes it there. And even Michigan State if they even verse them on the other side. In the West, I'm going to agree with you. I was thinking this in my head. I think Florida will get upset. I wouldn't even consider this an upset. I think St. John will beat Florida. The way St. John has been coached this year, if I saw a report about this the other day, that they won 20. I think it was 22 and what was their record last year? It wasn't good. And this year they're 30-4.
Yep.
Which is insane. And mind you, same coach.
Every
correct?
team and every team under Petito, their first year they're mediocre at best. Their second year they get 20 wins. Their third year they go dancing as a 1 or 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah.
Petito gets better every year.
Which is impressive.
It is.
And I don't see a team stopping them in the West. So I'm taking St. John.
Okay.
My East pick, I think it's most people's East pick, it's the Duke Blue Devils. That team is insane. Obviously, they were the best team in the nation by the rankings. I don't see a team stopping them in the East because there's not that much competition, in my opinion. With maybe Alabama, maybe. But I don't see them having to worry. And I 100% agree with you. Bench Cooper Flag until round of 16 or the Sweet 16, or even if depending on your opponent, I could even seeing them play without him in the championship in the ACC championship game. You could play with him without him until the Elite Eight. Honestly,
let's not get crazy here.
It depends on your team. Honestly, it does. But I move. I will go to the Midwest. And it's kind of a shocker, in my opinion. I'm going to go Purdue.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what they're a basketball heavy school. Their coach is very good. A lot of big players. Even last year, Zach Edey came from that team. They're very. I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting some people don't know. And even though Zach Edey's not doing his thing in the NBA, that's a different story for a different day. He's They're coached very well. It's a very structural system that they run through. So I think that they make it out of the Midwest, and I would say upsetting Houston, even though Houston has always been good in basketball, always been good,
Okay.
and that's
Okay, I
my
like it. Look, I like your Final Four. You went. No massive upsets. Like, I mean, the 7 seed's a little crazy, obviously, but a 4 seed, I like it. I respect it. You have to.
yeah,
This is March.
exactly.
This is March.
March Madness. Let's go.
So I'm gonna go my final first, and then you go your final, and then we say are each other's winners.
Okay.
So for my first Final Four matchup is Marquette against St. John's. This is a familiar foe, both of them in the Big East. St. John's, I think, beats them. Not easy, but with a decent margin. I think St. John's is going to be very happy in my bracket to see Marquette come out of the other side, and I think St. John's will be waltzing their way into the final, which would be nice and nice. The other side is a lot tougher. Tennessee versus Duke. Love this matchup. Really do. I thought about it. I'm going to go Duke. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to say Duke with Cooper Flag back in the lineup by this point, well by this point. I think my final is going to be St. John's versus Duke. That's where I'm going with this.
I respect it. I respect it. I'm not gonna actually argue with it because I could see it happening. But my teams are completely different than yours. So with the first matchup, I have Auburn versus. Correct me if I'm wrong. St. John.
Yep.
I do have Auburn unfortunately beating St. John. I understand.
Me and you are on very different sides of the aisle on Auburn.
Yeah, very different sides. Auburn. I don't know if you know this, but Auburn has been the number one seed for I believe the number no, not the number the ranked number one team for approximately 5 to 6 weeks, and
Fuck them.
they're a very good team. So I do think they're going to the national championship.
If they lose in the first or second round, I'm gonna have a field day with you next week.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't blame you. And then Duke versus my crazy one, Purdue. I think Cooper Flag and that team absolutely stomps on them and
Okay.
railroads them.
Okay. Okay. So our finals for everybody. One quick recap: St. John's versus Duke. Auburn versus Duke.
hmm
Derek, would you like to say who your winner is first?
My winner is, and it's not even based off the players, it's based off the coach, who I think is I'm pretty sure he will win Coach of the Year. I think the Duke Blue Devils will win the national championship this year.
Okay. All right. So Derek's March Madness pick, everybody. Duke.
Please God, don't fuck me over. They're gonna lose in the first round. I'm just gonna cry.
Okay, so thankfully, I guess, I'm gonna go opposite of you. I got St. John's beating Duke.
Oh no.
In the final, I got the Red Storm, baby, marching all the way to the end. Rick Petito in his dapper ass white suit, white tie, white shoes, all of it. I got him taking the Johnnies all the way and beating Duke in the final. I got the St. John's Red Storm winning it all this year.
Against wow. That is fucking insane.
Yep.
Oh my God. Don't get me
Yep.
wrong.
I got St. John's beating a lot of good teams, obviously. It's going to be tough,
Wow.
but that's who I got. I think they're a very well coached team. They have some very good players on their team. They have if not one of the best players in the nation in Lewis Jr. I just like their team, and personally, as a Seton Hall fan, we're not going to get into that. I've seen a lot of St. John's play in the Big East, and I know what they're capable of. So maybe that's also why I took Marquette. Sorry, everybody. But that's when I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go the Red Storm. I'm having them get a New York parade, baby.
Is this? I have a question for you. Are you only
Yep.
doing this because it's the only New York happiness you will get?
Absolutely not.
I I don't see it, Dean. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I do not see Duke losing to St. John.
Okay.
I
Which is why you're entitled to your stupid opinion.
how dare you call us stupid? They're all right. Let me just break this down for you, Dean. They played majority of the ACC tournament, which, mind you, the ACC is normally very good. For
Yeah.
this year, not so much.
Look, look. I realize what I'm saying is not. St. John's is a very good team, right? For them to beat a one seed like Florida, for them to beat another one seed like Duke, that's tough. It's going to be tough. I never said it wasn't going to be tough. That's just my opinion on the matter. However, I will say my opinions are based on legitimate findings, right? Over the last, let's call it, let's call it like 10 years, right? There have been a lot of Big East teams to win March Madness, Derek.
That's fair.
Connecticut back-to-back years. Nova then before them, 2 and 3 years. Connecticut even before that. The Big East, people mock them all the time because, they're one of those, they're not the ACC, they're not the SEC, they're not these big powerhouse schools. However, they play tough, hard basketball, and when push comes to shove, they play a lot better defense than a lot of these other teams in these big conference schools. So that's where my basis is going to go.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I could be horribly wrong.
Horribly wrong.
Look, I am looking for one of us to be absolutely shelled by one another when one of our final four teams loses in the first two rounds.
I hope honestly, St. John is versus Duke in the championship game.
It would be amazing.
That podcast episode will be electric.
That's look, that's where I'm going. Me and you have some good ones here. Everybody, Mr. Derek took Duke. I took St. John's.
And little disclaimer: if everyone wants to enter in, this is a little disclaimer. If everyone wants to enter in the ESPN tournament to have fun, just to do it, to do your own bracket, make as many brackets you want, do it, have fun. March Madness is the highlight of March.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Eventually, I was talking about this with some people the other day. I personally don't think I'll ever see a perfect bracket in my lifetime.
I agree.
But the stupider people are, the more random you make your bracket, you have the same chance as everybody else. And who knows if you win a perfect bracket in your lifetime and you have that luxury of being that one person, maybe, just maybe, Warren Buffett will actually do what he says and give you $1 billion.
He said that. I didn't.
Yeah.
I never knew.
Warren Buffett has had this gauntlet sent out for the last 20 years where he said if anybody gets a perfect bracket, he will give them $1 billion.
That's
Which, to be fair, on his part, look, he's a billionaire to begin with, but it's probably the safest bet ever. He's never giving anybody $1 billion.
People have gotten very, very. I think the closest person I've seen, someone has gotten to the final four with a perfect bracket.
It's possible. I look. I forget the exact numbers, but I think this to get a perfect bracket, it's like 1 and 2 or 3 quintillion.
9 quintillion.
Which is just fucking crazy. Like, good luck. So that being said, I hope everybody has a fun tournament. It's March. It's one of the best times of the year. We've already spoken about that in all sports. That is, March Madness will directly lead into the NHL and NBA playoffs, which is going to be awesome. Directly leading into the MLB start of the season, which is awesome. So we're in for a good run.
Yes, and it's so crazy to say is that, like, obviously we said it earlier in the podcast, this is the lull of sports right now, to where not much is going on towards the end of basketball and NHL. MLB is about to get starting up, and then March Madness. So, unfortunately, this is the end of our little segments for the podcast because I don't think me or Dean have anything crazy that we want to say.
Nope.
Until obviously March Madness goes on. We'll talk about March Madness and then the draft in April.
Yep.
So, Dean, we're going to go to your favorite segment.
Baller of the week.
Very high pitched, not much in it. Very good.
Okay, whatever. Go fuck yourself. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I would like you to go first.
Okay, so my ball of the week, going to stay within the sports realm, but I am going to go to a sport that we have not spoken about today,
Okay.
or in a while for that matter. I'm going to go to tennis.
Oh, fuck off.
So one of my favorite tennis players, his name is Nick Kyrgios. He is an Australian tennis player. He is, for anybody who doesn't watch tennis, the Happy Gilmore of tennis, right? He does not have tennis appropriate mannerisms. He screams at the top of his lungs at his coaches while playing in the match. He does outrageous trick shots between the legs, behind the back shots, in the middle of important matches. He's just that fun dude that everybody wants to root for. He has had some pretty brutal injuries over the last few years, and he recently played in a tournament, Indian Wells, where he looked like he had another injury. But then he came back this week, today actually, in the Miami Open for the first time in 2.5 years, after multiple injuries, after multiple even retirement talks. He won his first match in 2.5 years, came back from 1 set down to win 2 sets to 1, showed a little bit of emotion, obviously, because this is a big moment for him coming back after all these injuries. He was even during all of these injuries, he was even doing some announcing for the U.S. Open.
That's cool.
So that was always going to be his next portion of his career. So I'm happy to see him back on the court. I'm happy to see him winning. Hopefully we get to see his antics in the upcoming tournaments, whether it be at Wimbledon, whether it be in the U.S. Open later in the year. Love my man, Nick Kyrgios. He is my baller of the week.
See, I wish mine would do that. Mine just doesn't do it. Mine's depressing.
Well, because yours is stupid, and you're stupid.
That's fair. All right, I obviously did say I kind of shit on it before it even started, but I didn't know that stuff about him, so that's pretty cool.
Yep, go fuck yourself.
So, yeah, we'll go fuck myself on that one. I am going to go outside of sports. I'm going to go to a field to where I don't think we've touched on as for Baller of the Week.
Okay.
I'm going to go to music.
Music.
Yes.
Okay, you've definitely touched on it because one of your baller weeks was Kendrick Lamar.
It was.
Okay, but sorry, had to mock you. Continue.
Fair enough. So, this past Friday, a artist named Playboi Carti dropped a 30-song album, which, mind you, that doesn't happen often anymore. People dropping those big albums. But mind you, Playboi Carti, the artist, if most of you don't know, he appears and then disappears. Appears and then disappears. In fact, his last album he released was, I believe, 4 years ago. 5 years ago. My bad.
Yep.
So, he doesn't release albums often. And when he dropped this album, everyone was waiting for it. I've never seen any streamers, people on Instagram, on X, on everything, waiting. Him delay, people actually watching, no, shameless plug, Kai's stream, waiting for the album to drop because he was communicating with him during the thing, saying, "Oh, I'm posting. Him delaying it, and then still within the first weekend of it dropping, and obviously playing it Rolling Loud, him being the number one for albums, right? This in 2025.
Yep.
Which is absolutely insane for a person who doesn't drop albums that much anymore. He appears in small songs like Carnival, and obviously Timeless with the Weeknd, and all these little songs. He pops, makes an album, everyone loves it, and now it's number one. So I just got to give my flowers to Playboy Cardi. And one thing I do need to respect about him too is that if you go early, he was a heavy rapper in art, like heavy rapper, and then now he's very widespread. Some music you will not expect this motherfucker to do. And all respect to the producer who made all of his beats for this album, because all the beats were actually insane. So that is my bar of the week.
Very nice. Good ball of the week. Good way to end off this podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Very psycho man who talks about drugs in all of his songs, but yeah. This is bullshit. I don't know why mine doesn't do it. Yeah, it is that. It is that.
Sad boy Derek.
Yeah, sad boy Derek. Well, that concludes the podcast, the Double D Report. Obviously, with help of our editor, these new podcasts will be up on Spotify. Just need to upload them. It's quick and easy. But as soon as I do, I'm gonna post in the community so everyone can see it. And one main thing, leave comments on roast Dean about the Rangers. Be active in the community. Make fun of us first.
You can do whatever you want about the Rangers. I'm not talking about them until October now.
But in general, communicate with us. It's the best to interact with us so we know your opinions and even your segments. It'll make our lives easier. Our life's easier to like talk about stuff you guys want, not stuff we want to talk about. Because sometimes we spew off bullshit.
Derek.
Yeah, me. Which is fair to assume. But Dean, any closing statements you want to say before I sign us out?
No closing statements except everybody enjoy March Madness. It should be a good one, obviously. We'll be getting into more sports following March Madness, upcoming NHL playoffs, upcoming NBA playoffs, upcoming MLB start of the season. We got a fun time of the year, everybody. So let's get to it.
Yep. Well, everyone, like, subscribe, follow on TikTok, listen on Spotify, tune in, go to the gym, work out, run, listen to our podcast. Have fun. But anyway, peace.